Alright, welcome to the front-end web development bootcamp. Now in this section we are going to be building this simple promotion plan page. I haven't done HTML and CSS to an extent, so let's build our first project. And there are some persons that I'm inviting to also join the program, to also join this live class that is not in the front-end web development group. So let's proceed. Alright, so this is what we want to build. It's a table, and let me go straight to my VS Code. So this is week 2. So I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to call it week 2. Then this is going to be class. It's going to be class 3. Yes, it's going to be class 3. Okay. So in this class, we are going to create an HTML folder. Afterwards, we are also going to create a CSS folder. So I'm going to call it style.css. So in our HTML folder, let us generate our HTML boilerplate. So this is how to generate it. HTML5. You can either use this method or you can use this method. Just click on exclamation, then press enter. Then you have this. Then we are going to build a simple project, which is table. Simple project which is table. So I'm just going to make this capital uppercase. Simple project table. So yeah, so what are the things that we need for this project? They're very simple. First of all, let us write our HTML first. So again, let me show you what we want to build. So this is exactly what we want to build. That's exactly what we want to build. So let's go straight to the point. Let me show you. Let's write all of these inside of our HTML, because this is a table. And table is one of the HTML elements that we use to present data in a tabular manner or in a grids manner. So it is used to present data in a tabular manner. So look at this data that we are presenting. So we are presenting this data in a tabular manner that consists of columns and rows. So in order for us to be able to replicate this, we have to create our table element. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's start from this part. You have promotion plan. That is like the title of the table. Promotion plan, that's like the title of the table. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come here now, click on H1, and I'm going to call this promotion plan. Promotion plan. Then the next is the table element. Now the table element, for us to be able to generate something like this, or for us to be able to replicate something like this, present this data in a tabular manner, we need some HTML element aside from table. We need table row, which is tr. We need table data, which is td. Then we need table header, which is th. So in this scenario, how many table rows do we have? If you calculate the number of table rows we have, so table rows is talking about the horizontal row. So if you look at it all together, if you calculate it together, let's do it together. We have this first row. So this first row is representing the table header. So we have the first row. We have how many rows again? We have the second row. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 rows all together. So we are going to generate 8 rows. We are going to generate 8 rows, and this is how to generate 8 rows. Simple and fast. This is how to generate 8 rows, simple and fast. So you just write tr, then times 8, because we want to generate 8 rows. So we are going to say tr times 8. Then mnet abbreviation is going to bring this suggestion for us. Can you see? Mnet abbreviation is bringing this suggestion for us. It's telling us that okay, we want to generate 8 rows. So when we press enter, it's going to generate 8 rows, table rows for us, without having to do it manually. So it makes our work efficient, and it helps us to save time. So the next thing we also want is the table header. So apparently the table header is also inside of the table row. So how many table header do we have? We have 4 table header. So we'll do that same process. So we'll click on the first row. So in between the opening tag and the closing tag of the first row, we are going to have the table header. So we are going to say table header times 4 now. So here I'm going to pass all those information. Let's see. So we have compare. Let's call it compare all plants. Then the next one is we have starter, we have advanced, and we have enterprise. So the next row will be for the table data. So all of this information, that is what we are going to pass inside of those rows. So we have TD. How many TDs do we have? We have 4 TDs. So let's go to our VS Code and generate that. So 4 TDs, and in our TD, the first, so let's just type TD times 4. So we have TD times 4. Now what we need is to fill up the table data. So we have first month management cost. Then the other one we have following month. Then here we have delivery time frame. Oh, sorry. So I'm not supposed to do it like this. I'm supposed to do it first month. Then the other one is dollar. That's 4,400. The other one is $900. While the last one is $1,200, 1.2. So the same thing too for this. So what we are just going to do, we are just going to copy all of this and paste it here too, so that it will save us stress. It will save us the stress of generating it all over again. So what we'll just change the information or the data that we have here. So we'll say the following month Then the next one, we have $300, while the other one is $700, while the last one is $900. Then the next one, we have delivery TD times 4. So we have delivery time frame, then let us fill up the rest. So this one will be 3 to 6 months, while this also will be 3 to 6 months, while the next one also will be 3 to 6 months. All I should have just done is to just copy and paste this instead of me typing it all over again. Then the next thing is the TD times 4. Then here we have support 24/7. Support 24/7. This one we say dash. Then this other one, if you look at this code here, if you look at this part here, this where we are support 24/7. This where we are, we need this check mark here. So we need this check mark. We need this check mark that we have here. We need this check mark that we have here. And how can we generate that? It is quite simple. It is quite simple for us to be able to generate, or for us to be able to have this check mark here, like a mark this here. So we are going to use the HTML Unicode. That's what they call the HTML Unicode. So there's a Unicode for that symbol. There's a Unicode for that symbol. A Unicode for that symbol. So every letter, every character, every symbol has a Unicode, because the computer machine does not understand all of these words and numbers. The computer understands binary numbers, so all of this will be interpreted in binary numbers. So that is the language that the computer understands. So all of these signs and symbols and letters and numbers have their own unique Unicode. So we are going to get the Unicode of that check mark, the HTML Unicode, and it is quite simple. So this is it here. This is it. And then hash, then 10003. Okay, I think this one is like an entity number, not it's an entity number or something. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy this, and I'm also going to paste it here. So I save the same thing too. I'm going to copy this TD, and I'm also going to paste it in this third one here, because that is what we have. Of course, we look at this now. This is what we have. So this one will be what? Certificate. So instead of this one will be certificate. So let's change the word certificate. Then the next one will be guarantee keywords ranking in first bank of blah 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 blah. So let's write that. Let's write that. So I'm also going to generate another TD. So I'm going to say TD times 4. That will help me generate 4 table data. And I'm going to say, I'm going to fill in the cells with data. So guarantee keywords ranking in. Now observe, if I show you the picture now, observe that when we got to that in, the rest of the words broke, as in we break the rest of the word to the next line. So in order for us to be able to do that, we use what? Line break. So line break, then the next is what? First page of Google. Then let's fill the other table data with this is 18, this is 20, and this is 28. Then the next one is the next one as okay, the next one TD times 4. The first data is empty, as you see it here. The first table data in the last table row is empty, so you just have to leave it empty. There's no information there, so we leave it what? We leave it empty. So we leave it empty. We'll come to the second one. Now the second one, you have a button there. You have a button which is buy now. You have a button inside of the table data. You have a button. So what are we going to do? We are going to generate a button, and we'll say button. So button is an HTML element too as well. So we'll say button buy now. So that's it. So we are just going to copy it. So copy it and paste it to other table data. So paste, we save. So let's view this on our browser and let's see what we have. Let's view this on the browser. Let's see what we have. Okay, so this is the HTML. This is the HTML page. This is how it looks like. We haven't done any CSS at all. We haven't done any CSS at all. So we are going to apply CSS now. We are going to apply CSS. But before I introduce you to CSS, or okay, let's just okay, now that we've done all the HTML code, I think if you notice, the H1 is an adjacent element of this table. Let me just collapse this table so you see. So you can see that this H1 and table, they are sibling elements. So there's no container. There's no container that is holding the H1 and the table elements together. There's no container. So they are separate in the body tag. So in the event where I want to move these two elements to the center, how can I do that? I will have to move them one after the other, like I said earlier on in my previous tutorial. So yeah, what we are going to do is we are going to cut these two elements. We are going to cut it, then we are going to create a general container which is called div. So we'll call this div. We'll say div, and we are going to give the div we are going to give the div a class of wrapper, or let's call it table wrapper, or let's just call it container. Let's call it container. Then we paste in what we called. So now there is a container that is holding the H1 and the table element. So now that we are done with HTML, let us link our CSS style, our external style sheet. Let us link it. So here, in order for us to be able to link CSS external style sheet to our HTML document, is quite simple. I already taught you that yesterday. So just type link. It's going to eminent abbreviation is going to bring out options here, and the one we are looking for is what? Link CSS. So we are going to press enter, and please ensure that the value of this href attribute must be the same to the name of your CSS file. So the name of your CSS file must be the same as the value of this HTML, of this href attribute, because this is what creates the linkage. This is what creates the linkage. So please, it's very, very, very important. So I think that is that on HTML. So this is how crude it looks on the web page. It is how it looks like, pure HTML web page, no CSS at all. Now if I use my pesticide, for instance, I'm coming, hold on. All right, now if I use my pesticide, you will notice something here. You will notice that, like I said yesterday, that every HTML element, block element, they have a predefined margin. They have a predefined margin. Please, if you look at the left side, if you look at the left side of your browser, you will notice that there's a space. There's a space at the left side of your browser, and even at the top there's a space there, and at the bottom also there's a space too. At the bottom, even at the right side, there's a space. Can you see the space? So we don't want that space. So you can see space that we have all around. We actually do not want that space. So what I said yesterday was that as a software developer or as a web designer using HTML and CSS and other frameworks, what you want to do is you want to set, or you want to reset all your HTML element by removing the margin and the padding and setting it to what is 0. You want to reset it, set it to what is 0. Its default value is 0. Then later you can now start adding your own what value for either for the padding and margin and all that. So now you can see that the body has its own padding, value of margin and all that. So if we analyze this using inspect, if I click on the body, can you see that the body is having what? A padding. If I hover on this, look at what we have there. So I told you that padding is the space around the border, outside of the border of an HTML element. Can you see? We want to remove this margin. We want to make it what is 0 by default. So also for the container too, let's see this H. Can you see this H1? This H1 also has what? A margin. Can you see the margin? 440 pixel. It has its own what? Margin. So let us look at the table too. Can you see the table? Let's click on the table. Can you see the table? So we need to do something. We need to reset all the HTML elements. We need to reset it. We really need to reset it. We need to reset it. So that's that. So how are we going to reset all the HTML elements? You may want to ask, will I have to start selecting all those elements one after the other and setting the margin and padding to 0? Of course not. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all, because if you try that, it's going to be very, very stressful. Do you get me? It's going to be what? Very, very stressful, selecting all the elements one after the other, because that kind of selector is actually called type selector or element selector. We don't want that. We just want a selector that will be able to select all the elements by default. So, and that selector is called what? Universal selector. So we are going to come to our VS Code now. Okay, we've properly linked our HTML CSS file into our HTML document. So we'll come here. Then we want to what? Reset all our HTML elements. We want to reset the margin and the padding to what is 0. And for us to do that, we already have a selector that helps us to select all the HTML elements all at a go, all at once. And that selector is what? Asterisk. It has what? Asterisk sign. So this selector helps us to be able to what? Select all the HTML elements in our HTML document. So do you get that now? So here now we can now apply our margin. We can now say margin is 0, then padding is 0. Do you see it now? If we save now, you will see how they are going to be squashed on top of each other. Can you see? It is now squashed. So there's no space at all. Can you see? It is not squashed. So the space that you were seeing here on the left side has been what? has been removed because we set the margin to 0. Even on the top, the bottom, and everything has been what? Removed. Everything has been removed. Everything has been removed. Then the next thing I want us to do is to set something like box sizing. Box sizing to be what? Border box. Box sizing to be border box. Don't worry, I'm going to explain this box sizing because this box sizing has two values. It has content box and it has border box. And the default value of box sizing is what? Content box. The default value of box sizing is content box. So now we are setting the value to what? Border box. I am going to explain that if we have time, but I'm going to explain this. So maybe in the next class on Monday, I'm going to explain the meaning of what? Border sizing, because if I start explaining that now, I don't want it to eat into the time for the project that we want to build. But just know this, that there's what they call box sizing, border box. By the next class, I'm going to explain this in details that you'll be able to what? Understand. But just know that we have what? Universal selector that selects what? All the HTML elements in our HTML document. And one of the use case of universal selector is to reset all our HTML document, to reset it by setting the margin to 0 and setting the padding to 0. So this universal selector is going to target all the HTML elements that we have here, down to from the body to the div to the h1 to the table row to the table header and to the table data. Everything inside of this HTML element, starting from the body to the children elements of the body, they are represented by what? This universal selector. So when we set the margin to 0, we are invariably saying that we are setting all the HTML elements in our document to what? Is 0. So I hope you understand that. Then the next thing I want to introduce to you is what we call variables. Or should I do that now? Okay, I think let me do that now. Let me introduce that to you. Actually, let me introduce it to you. So what is a variable? What is CSS variable? What is CSS variable? CSS variable, also known as custom property. CSS variables, also known as custom properties. It provides a way to define reusable values in CSS. It provides a way of defining reusable value in CSS. They are identified by a name preceded by two hyphens, such as maybe hyphen box. Okay, let's say for example, let me come to the note here. Let me come here and do CSS variables. CSS variables, which is also known as custom properties. Custom properties. So it helps us define the reusable values in CSS. It helps us define reusable value in CSS. Let's say for example, you have a website, you have an HTML document, and maybe you want a particular color. You want this color here, maybe color blue, for instance. You want color blue to be applied to several HTML elements, maybe such as h1, p, the link, then what do you call it again, h1, the paragraph, the link, and the span tag, and whatever. So let's just say this now. So now you want to apply this color to all of these elements that I just listed here, and you might have occurrences of these elements in multiple places in your HTML document. You might have H1 appearing, maybe 2 times or 3 times or 4 times in your HTML document, and the same thing too for P tag and for A tag and for span tag, and you want them to have the same color. Now, instead of selecting the elements and giving them and manually setting the color to blue, now CSS variable, which is also known as custom properties, it helps us to define reusable values in CSS. Let's say, for example, after you have set the color or you have defined the color for these elements that I listed here, H1, P, and link and span. So you have listed it and in your CSS. Now, let's say you want to now change the color. Maybe you don't like blue. You want to now change it to red, or you want to change it to green. Do you know that the areas or where you used the color, you have to go there and change it manually? So if you use the color in 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, so you are going to go there and be changing it color green manually. So that is very, very, very stressful. It is what? Very, very stressful. So CSS variable actually helps us to mitigate that stress by helping us to define reusable values in what? CSS. Let's say, for example, you want to use the color blue in all of these HTML elements now. So what you are just going to do is to define a root. Define a root is very, very, very important. Is to define a root, because whenever I want to declare a CSS variable, or when you want to declare a CSS variable, you have to use what? The root pseudo class. You have to use the root pseudo class. So this root element of the document is similar to the HTML what? Tag. So let's say, for example, you say something like root. So you need something like this, root. Whenever you want to declare a CSS variable, you use what? Root. Then afterwards, a curly bracket. Then you are going to now declare the variable that you want to use. So like I said variables are preceded with 2 hyphens. In order for you to be able to write CSS variable, they are preceded with 2 hyphens. So you say 2 hyphens, then maybe you can now say something like maybe you want this color blue to be your primary color, or you can say color blue, or you can say primary color, primary color, like this. Then an hyphen, a double colon. Then you now save the value there. You can now say var. You need what? You need var. So var is the function. So you pass the argument inside what? The function. Okay, not var. You just need them. You need to pass the color. So you say blue. Actually, you say blue. Something like this. You say blue. This is how it works. So you say root. So whenever you want to declare a CSS variable, please take note. You don't just declare CSS variable for colors alone. You can declare it for font size. You can declare, maybe you want to have a particular font size for a set of elements in your HTML. You can declare a variable for it. You can declare a variable for colors. You can declare a variable for box shadow. You can declare a variable for width. You can declare a variable for transition, for all kinds of things, because these variables, they actually help us to define reusable values in our what? CSS. So in the event maybe we want to change, let's say in the event we want to change the blue color, we don't have to go to audio, we don't have to go to this place, the elements that have this color. We don't have to go there and be changing it manually. All we just have to do is to come to the root and change it to green. Automatically in all of these elements is going to be changed to what? Green. If you don't want green again, you want yellow, just come here and change it to what? Yellow, instead of going to each of these HTML element and change the color manually. Is kind of stressful. So having explained that, so let us look at the use case of variable, CSS variable. So I'm just going to declare, I'm going to declare CSS variable for color that we are going to be using for this HTML, for this project. So this particular one here, where is it? So this project, you can see that we have different color. We have white, we have kind of yellow, we have red, we have blue or something like that here, maybe powder blue or something. You can see these are the four, and this other dark I don't know what it called, it's just a dark color. You can see we have 5 distinctive or 5 different colors that we are going to be using. We have 5 different colors that we are going to be using. So what we are going to do, we are going to save that inside of a variable, inside of a root. So we are going to say, to create a CSS variable, you need what? The root pseudo class. Then afterwards, to create the color, you need what? 2 hyphens. Then I can now set the color. I say color, I can give it this. Then I can write the hexadecimal code of the color, 9C, then 7. So I'm just going to pause this video and write it so that it won't waste our time. So we have all of this set up now. We have the root folder, we have the root, and we have saved all the variables that we are going to be using, the properties that we are going to be using inside of the root, the properties that we are going to be using inside of the root. I've saved it there. So like I said, CSS variable is also known as custom property. So we have created the custom properties here. Can you see? We've created the custom properties, and mostly it's actually color, not even mostly, all of it is color. This is a custom property that we have created, and we are going to be using it in our code. So we're going to be using it in our code. So now let's proceed. Then the next thing I want us to is to target the body, because if we save this now, nothing really changed. Actually, we still have the same thing here. So now we want to target the body. We say background color. Okay, I'm coming. All right, so let's proceed. Now we want to target the body. Now in the body tag, we are going to have this background color. Let me show you that here. So this is, we need this background color. Actually, we want this background color. So what we are going to do, we are going to say background color. Now how can we use these custom properties that we have created inside of this root pseudo class? How can we use this? Now for us to be able to use this, custom property inside of our CSS, we need what we call var. So var is a function. So we need what we call var. So when we click on just watch what I did now. So if I type var and I press enter, it's going to bring out all the custom properties that I have inside of the root of the pseudo class. So like I said, this root pseudo class is tantamount, or it is the same as the HTML tag, HTML root tag. So this is when I clicked on this banner, it's showing me all of these colors, all of these custom properties that I have inside of the root pseudo class. Can you see it now? Root selector, can you see it? So like I said earlier on, that you don't just store colors as custom properties. You can also have other properties as well. I said that earlier on. So now the color that we are going to use is this one. We are going to use this one here. So we save. So in the event you want to change the color, let's say for example, in the event maybe you have used this background color now, this particular color as background color for not just the body, and for every other aspect of every other element in your HTML. and you want to change the color, it is simple. The CSS variable, which is also known as custom property, actually helps us it gives us a better way to be able to do that. Instead of going to these elements one after the other and changing the color, we can just come to this root selector here, and where we have that property, we can just change the color. And once we change the color to our desired color, it's going to reflect in the instances where we have those color. Where we have those color in the HTML element, is going to change instead of you doing it manually yourself. So that is one of the use case of custom variable. It actually helps us to define reusable value. It helps us to define reusable value. So that's that. So let's look at what we have now. Can you see? This is what we have. Then the next thing is I want to change the color. I want the color to be white, so I'll say var. So I think I have a white color here, so I'll say white. So if I save that, let's see what we have. Can you see? White. So the next thing I'm going to do is also to change the font family. You might be wondering why I set the body to be what? I set the color of the body to be white. How come the elements, the text inside of the body tag is receiving the color? Because it means that there are some elements that can inherit properties, CSS properties, from their parent element. There are some elements that are inheritable, and there are some ones that cannot be inheritable. So as we go deep into the class, of course, as we go deep into this front-end web development training, you are going to know which elements are can inherit, which properties can be inherited from the parent element by the children, and which one is what not inherited. So let's move forward. So we have font family. Now in this font family, we are going to use the system here. There's no need for us to go to Google Fonts to go and be looking for importing fonts. We have fantastic fonts here already, so I'm just going to look for the system UI fonts. Then I save. So it's going to change the typeface of my text. So this is what we have. So we are done for the body. So let's look at the container. Let us look at the container. But before we touch the container, let us style the H1. That's the title there. We'll say H1. Then we're going to give it. We want it to be text aligned. We want it to be center. We want it to be center. So if we save, can you see it is centered? That's not all. Then we also want to select the container, because this one here, we want to select the container. And the reason why I want to select the container is because we want to create a space. We want to move the container downwards. We want to move it downwards from the body. We want to move it a bit down from the body. And for us to be able to move it a bit down from the body, we are going to select the container. And the container is a div. It has a class of container. I already told you how to select class element that has a class attribute. I already told you how to select that using the class selector. I taught you ID selector. I taught you type and element selector, and also universal selector. These are the 4 selectors I've taught you so far. We are going to still see other advanced selectors. So, but let us look at class selector. So for us to be able to select a class name, we need the period, then the name of the class attribute, the value of the class attribute in that HTML. So we'll call it, so it is called container. So we are going to save it. So we are going to set a margin top. I already taught you margin yesterday, box model yesterday. So we're going to set a margin top, and I'm going to give it 5%. But since I haven't taught you how to use absolute and relative measurement units, which is the percentage and the rem and the m and all that. So I'm just going to stick to pixel for now. Then in our subsequent class, I'm going to introduce to you the absolute and the relative what measurement. So let us take it bit by bit. Let me not compound your head. So let's move on. So margin top, so I'm just going to give it let's say 200 pixel. Let's say 200 pixel. Let's see what we have. All right, okay, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much. Let's say 100 pixel. Yeah, I think this one is good. So it's good. So let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. Coming. So on to the next one. I have so we are going to style the table. Actually, we are going to style the table. We are going to style the table, and we are going to say table. What do you want to give the table? We want to give the table a width of 800 pixels. I should have given it a max width, but I haven't taught you max width yet. So let's just use width. So I'm going to say width. I'm going to say width of 800 pixels. So I'm going to give it a width of 800 pixels. So if I save, you will really not see the effect here, aside from the fact that it is broadening, the table is broadening, but you will really not see the effect here at all. So this is not, this alignment is actually wrong. This is bad. This is a bad alignment. But let us see what we can do. So now the next thing is to center the body, is to center the table element. We want to center it in this. We want to center it. We want it to be centered in respect or in relation to the viewport. We want it to be centered, and there are several ways to center element. We can use positioning to center element. We can use flex to center element. We can use grid to center element, and we can use margin to center element. So since I've taught you margin, so I'm going to introduce to you margin, how to center element with what? Margin. So we are going to come here and say margin. Now notice, please, before I go there, notice if I use my pesticide, you can see this is the entire width of the table, and the width of the table is 800. Notice that we still have an available space here. You can see available space here. So what we want to do is, in order for us to be able to center the table in relation to the viewport, that's this what you see, the viewport, the area here, this horizontal area. In order for us to be able to set it to, we want to make it centered. What we are going to do is, this available space here, we are going to distribute it evenly to on both sides. Like we are going to distribute it evenly on the left side and on the right side. So we are not going to be the one to do it. The browser will be the one to do it. So the browser is saddled with responsibility to take the available space and to distribute the available space equally or evenly to the left side and to the right side of the viewport, so that this table can be centered. And in order for us to be able to achieve that, we need what? Margin. And there's a value in margin that we can use. So since we want to center the left and the right, we are going to use what? Auto. But what about the top and bottom? So we need to create a space around, we need to create a space we need to move the table. Yes, we need to move the table a bit from this promotion place here, this H1, this title. We need to move this table a bit downwards because there's no space between the table and the title. That's the H1. So we are going to use what? Margin top. You know, I taught you margin shorthand. I taught you shorthand for box model. So this one shouldn't, I don't have to go over to this again. So what we are going to do is, okay, for the top, we are just going to give it, let's say 50 pixel. And for the left and right, we are going to give it auto. While for bottom, we are going to give it 0. So I taught you this yesterday, so please go and watch the video for yesterday. So this is what we have. So it is now properly centered. Wow, this is what properly centered. Is properly centered. So the next thing we are going to do is also to select the table data, and the table row, because what we have here, you can see border around the table, you can see borders, around in the table, you can see borders. So in order for us to be able to set that border, we need to select the table. Now I want to introduce you to another CSS selector that is called group selector or multiple selector. We want to set group selector. Let's say, for example, you are setting a custom rule, a CSS style for maybe 3 different elements. You are setting the same CSS style for 3 different elements. Yes, for 3 different elements. Instead of you to select that element and apply that style, and select the other element and apply the same style, and select the third element and apply the same style, that it makes your code bogus. Do you get it now? It makes your code voluminous. So you don't want that. You don't want to repeat yourself. That's what they call dry, which means don't repeat yourself. So what we are going to do is, since we are applying the same CSS rule to 3 different elements, what we are going to do is we are going to use what we call the group selector, and this is how the group selector works. So first of all, we want to select the table. So we want to apply a custom CSS rule for the table, and also for the th, and also for the td. So now this is how to use group selector. So this is group selector, and you see it's group selector. So we separate it by a comma. If there's no comma there, it will not see it as group selector. So comma is, you need the comma. So what makes it a group selector is the comma. You select the element, comma, the next element, comma, then the other element, comma. That's all. Then now we want to set the border. We'll say border. We want 1 pixel, solid, and var. So we need the color now. I think I want this color. So we are good to go. So I don't think I need to explain border, because I treated that yesterday. So can you see what we have here? Can you see what we have here? Let me increase the value of the border. Let me increase the value of the border so you see what I'm talking about. Can you see? But it's like the border is doubled. Why? We don't want that. The border is doubled, and we actually do not want that. So how can we mitigate that, or how can we change it? How can we change this? Because it's like the border, this is not what we want. The border is doubled. So you can see like the border is separated. It's separated from each other. Can you see the border for each one? Table header is separated from this one. We don't want this, because it's different from what we have here. It's different from what we have. We have just one single border for all of this. So we don't want something like this. We don't want something like this. And in order for us to be able to change this, there's a property, there's a CSS property for table that helps us to be able to collapse this border, so that we can have one single border. And I'm going to show you that right away. So to do that, I'm going to come here and say border collapse. So I'm using border collapse on table header and table data. So I'll say border collapse. Where is it? Border collapse. So I'm going to make it collapse. I save. Now here we go. Can you see? That's collapsed to one single border. Now we are getting somewhere. So the next thing I also want us to do is to transform this element. To transform it to uppercase. This header here, the table header, is to transform it to what? Uppercase, and do some other styling with it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the table header, and here I'm going to say text transform. You know, I taught you text transform in the beginning of our CSS course. So I'm going to say text transform. I'm going to call it uppercase. Then the next one is going to be font size. So I'm going to give it a font size of 16 pixel, and I'm going to give it a font weight. I want it to be very bold, so I'm going to give it what? Bold. So if I save that now, let us see what we have here. Can you see? Bold. It is what? Bold. Bold, 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 bold. So let's proceed. Now the next thing I also want to show you, and okay, padding, we need to give it a padding. I'm going to give it a padding of 10 pixel. So say padding, so we want to give it a padding of 10 pixel all around. So if you have one value, it means that this value is going to affect all the sides of the element box. All the sides of the element box. Remember I told you that CSS sees HTML elements as a box, whether it's an inline level box or it is what? A block level box. So by default, every HTML element generates what? A box. So you can't see it. It generates what? A box. So every HTML element has its own box model. So I explained that extensively in details yesterday in our CSS class, so I don't have to go over it again. So please go back and watch the video. Thank you. So let's move on. Let's look at this part here. You can see that the table header is having different color. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to give this table, each of these table header, a different class name. I'm going to give it a class name. So I'm going to give it a class name. The thing is, I'm supposed to use a class selector, a pseudo class selector for that. But since I haven't taught you pseudo class selector, let's just work with class. So I'm going to come here for this compare. I'm going to give it a class of. White, and here I'm going to give it a class of, let me see, a class of yellow. Class of yellow. You see the reason why I'm giving it such color, because it's not just, we are also going to use it here too as well. I'm going to use it here too. Yeah, I think so. Or should we okay, so what am I going to do? Please hold on. Should I just give it okay, let's give it all right, let's see. Well, let me just give this let me just give it BG yellow, sorry, BG white, then here BG yellow. Why this one should be BG class, BG red. Why this one should be class BG blue. So save. We'll come here. We'll say BG dot BG white. So I'm just going to duplicate this 3 more times, and I'm going to call this BG yellow, and here I'm going to call this BG red, and here I'm going to call this BG blue. So if we save, we're going to see background color, so we use our var, then we'll call this white, then also this var, okay, sorry, BG background color, then var, I'm going to call this yellow, I think so, then this BG var, I'm going to call this red, BG good. So let us see what we have. Wow, beautiful, 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 beautiful. So, but this BG white, I'm going to give it a color. I'm going to give it a color of black. So I think I don't have I don't think I have black color here. So I'm just going to save it in the root. So I'll come and say dash dash color dash 000. That's the hexadecimal. So black color. Or is that what I use? Let me see. Okay, let's just go with black. Let's go with black. var black. All right, let's continue. So this is what we have. So compare all, starter, advanced, enterprise. So this is what we have so far. This is what we have so far. So I'm also going to do the same for this. Where is it? For this TD, I'm also going to do for TD. I'm going to have a padding of 10 pixel. So if we save that, yeah, I think we are good to go. We are good to go. Then the next one is to look at coming. Let's do that. It's like this one here. The text align is text. The text align is left. So what we are going to do is, where is it? So come here where we have the BG white. We'll say text align to be left, while the others will be centered. So where is it? I don't have to do it here since I already have TH as an element selector. I'll just come here. I will say text align to be what? Center. Then the rest of it will center. Why this one here will be text align? You know, I taught you CSS specificity. I taught you CSS specificity that we have four CSS specificity level of selectors, and the lowest of them all is element or type selector, followed by class selector, then followed by ID, then followed by inline style. So this is the lowest specificity. So we said, okay, for all the OTH, we want it to have what? Text align was center. Then we'll now come here, which is BG white. That's for the first TH. We say we want to set it to what? Text align left. So this one is going to have more. It's going to have this style here is going to overrule the style for this TD only for this first TH. Only for this first TH. So this one here is going to override the style that we set here, and it is only for the first table head. So please take note of that. So if we save that now, yeah, this is what we have. This is what we have. So simple. So simple. Then the next thing I want us to look at is this. Coming. The next thing I want us to look at, let me see what we have here. Okay, I think this one too, they are let me see. Okay, we are good. Good. So let's style the button actually. Let's style the button. So I'm just going to give this coming. Okay, we have yellow, red, and blue for this third data here. So come here, yellow exit. So we'll give this one a class of yellow, class of red, and here a class of blue. So what again? Class of blue. Then this check mark here. Where is the check mark? I'm going to give it a class of yellow. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it. Copy, paste, copy, paste. I'm doing all of this because I have not taught you some pseudo class selector actually. So let us do that. So dot yellow, what do we want? We want a color of var. They want yellow. And the next one is what? Font size bold. Okay, this is what we are going to do. Okay, then the next one, I'm just going to copy and paste. So I'll call this red. Call this blue. Blue. So if we save, this is what we have. So we are going to increase the text because it's like other aspect, they have the same CSS property. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say dot yellow, group selector now, dot blue, then dot red. They are going to have the same CSS property, which is font size 18 pixel. So we want it to have a font size of 18 pixel, then a font weight of bold. If we save, yeah, this is what we have. So let us address the button. Let's look at the button. Let us style the button. So I'm going to come here, button. So we want the background color of the button to be red. So I'm going to say var red. If we save, let's see what we have. Can you see? Now notice that this is not what we want. Okay, let's still continue. Let's set our color to var white. Then we want a padding. We want a padding 10 pixel and 30 pixel. So if we save, can you see what we have? So this is what we have so far. This is what we have so far, but we actually want we want to be able to, now if you notice this button here is having, this button is having a border, a black border, but we don't want the border at all. We don't want the border. So the button, the HTML button element comes with a default border. Comes with what? A default border. Comes with a default border and outline. So we don't want that border because that border is not looking beautiful. So what we are going to do is to set the border. We want the border, we want to remove the border, so we are going to set the border to none. So when we set it to none, you will see that there's no border there again. But if we click on this button, you can see that there's no border there. There's no border there at all. There's no border there at all. So that's that. And also for the button, we want something like border radius. So now border radius actually talks about how do you want border radius talks about the how am I going to put it now? How do you the border you want it? Do you want it to be circular? Like if you look at this part here now, in our example, we can see that the vertex of each of the border, you can see this part is circular, compared to this one that we have here. So in order for us to be able to have that same thing that we have, so we are going to set the border radius, meaning that we want it to be round. We want the border to be round a bit. So for us to make it round, we can make it to be completely round, to be complete circle. That one we have to set it to 50%. But we just want it to be curved a bit. And for us to be able to do that, we need border radius, and we're going to give it a value of 20 pixels. So let us see what we have. Can you see? Border radius 20 pixels. Border radius 20 pixels. So let us see the next thing. You can see all of these, they are also centered. All of these, they are also centered. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm coming. I want us to be able to center. I want us to be able to center all of this. We want to center it. So what I'm going to do is for this TD here, I'm going to say text align to be what? Center. Text align to be center. Can you see? It is centered. So we have all of this centered now. But I don't want this first one here. I don't want this first TD to be centered. I don't want the first TDs to be centered. So how am I going to do it? Because it's going to be stressful. How am I going to do it whereby the first TD is not going to be centered? Because apparently I have selected all these TDs an element selector. So it selects all the TD in the table elements. And if I don't want the first TD of each of the table row to be text align center, I have to give each of these first TD in each of the table row a class name. So it can be kind of stressful, but let's just do it because I haven't taught you some other things yet. So let's do that. I'm just going to class, say, can call it first data. So I call it first data. Copy, paste it here, come here, paste it here, come here, paste it here, come here, paste it here, I paste it and I save. So I come to my CSS and I'm going to do something like dot first data, and I'm going to call it I'm going to say text align to be left. Text align to be left. That's what we have. Can you see? Text align left. So you can see that we are on the same page. Very, very beautiful. So let me see. So what I'm going to do is I don't want a padding. Let me see. I'm coming. So for the first data, I want a padding. I want a padding of top is 0, right is 0, bottom, okay, top 10, top 10, left is 0, bottom 10, and or I can just do something like this. I can just say border padding right. I want it to be what is 0. Let's see what we have. And I want for these two. Let's see what we have. Let's remove it. Let's remove it. We don't need it here. So I think we are good to go. So we have finalized. So we have been able to build this the same way we have it here. So beautiful. The same way we have it here. Can you see it? The same way we have it here. And coming. Yellow. Font size. Coming. We are good to go. So this is it. It's nice. So this is all we have been able to build so far using our knowledge. So look at everything that we have built. So everything that we have done here is all the things that I've taught you. There's nothing that I introduce here, okay, I think, except from this box sizing here that I said I was going to explain in the next class. But every other thing here, even down to this one, this root, I explained it. So the notice, yeah, I said something like that here. I explained this one. So all these ones, I explained it, how to use custom properties. That is CSS variable. You know, I said CSS variable is also known as custom property. How to use custom properties in your CSS code. So to use it, first of all, you need to declare what you need to use custom variables with roots. So you first of all declare the root, the pseudo class selector, declare the root. Then every of your custom properties that you are going to be using for your styling, you are going to put it inside of here. So if you want to now reference it, or if you want to use it to style any of the HTML element, all you just have to do is select the property, then the value will be what? Var. Then the value will be var followed by the argument. This is called argument. This is actually called argument. It is called argument. So please so it is called argument. So please, is very important. So that's that. So this one here, this argument is the name of this value here. So this is referencing this one particularly. So I don't think it's something that is difficult. Then which other one again? Every other thing, this is a type or element selector. This is a class selector. I already taught you margin yesterday. So this is everything. So this one too, I taught you this one today, and I said this kind of selector is called what? Group or multiple selector, a combined selector, where you combine two or more elements together and you apply the same styling to it. Then which other one again? I think that's all. That's all. Then padding none, everything here. That's also, we are able to achieve this project using all the things I have taught you so far. So on Monday we meet again.